And welcome back to the show. We're going to talk about some fun things. We're going to talk about weight and fitness and diet. And I have none other than my personal physician here with us, Dr. John Myers, who, you take, if I get a sore throat, that's I called you.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, it's been 5.5 years since we visited on a podcast.
Sure.
That was right at the start of COVID.
Right.
And it was
a different time.
We did it virtually.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
That's good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we cut a lot of water under the bridge since
a lot of things have changed.
COVID thing. Yeah.
Right.
Of course, I heard a commercial today about somebody saying, "Oh, I've got COVID," and I'm like, "Do we even test for that anymore?" But I know you do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's still out there a little bit. I had a patient who had to reschedule today because they had COVID.
Well, so there are now some things to take if you get it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Folks are still taking the shot. Yes, no? I mean, a lot of controversy.
Some, yeah. There's a lot of controversy. So some do, some don't. So that's a discussion we have every time somebody comes in. And there are some prescription medicines for it if somebody's got the infection. Yeah.
Well, same way for the flu. Isn't there like Tamiflu or something? If you start feeling bad, then...
Right. Yeah. So I typically compare COVID at this point to the flu. Most people who get the flu don't die. They just feel really terrible for a little while. But some do. Some end up in the hospital. Some people do die. And so, COVID's pretty much the same. And so the higher risk you are, the more health conditions you have, the more at risk you are. And the more you should consider doing everything you can to prevent an infection, including the people around you considering that as well and trying to protect you at the same time. So, but yeah, that's a really deep conversation. And there's a lot of different opinions.
Yeah. And of course, more information has come out and so forth that kind of helps people to make those decisions. Still recommend the flu shot?
I do. Once a year.
Yeah.
Some people get it, some people don't.
Well, so, and at a certain time of the year, because we're coming up on it'll be fall before we turn around good. So.
Right. Yeah. So early fall is probably the best time to get it, before flu season gets in full swing. Once it's here, it's just kind of a roulette wheel, whether you're going to get infected or not. So if you can protect yourself early, it's a good idea.
Yeah. So how do you take care of yourself? I mean, you're around sick people all day long.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I've already had everything.
Every disease known to man.
I've been sick a lot. I don't get sick as much anymore, though. I do think.
Really?
I think I've been exposed to a lot of things. I think I have immunity to a lot of things. Some things do change every year. The flu changes every year. But I probably still have some natural immunity against the flu. But then just besides that, I do think that healthy lifestyle makes a big difference. So I try to get enough sleep. Some nights are better than others, but on average, I sleep pretty well. I try to eat healthy. I try to get a lot of physical activity. And I think that when we treat our bodies well, they typically are better able to fight off infections. And I think that's probably part of why I've stayed healthy for the most part. But there's a couple times every year where I feel pretty terrible.
Yeah. And you have little kids, too, who are school age. That's one thing I noticed, that my kids would be fine all year long, but the first week of school, they would come back, and if they were going to have a cold or something, they got it the first week of school, and then we all had it, and then I guess kind of went along our merry way after that.
Well, you and I were talking a minute ago about how my wife is also the school nurse for my kids, and this last year was her first year there, and she got everything. It was a miserable year for her. We're hoping that this next year will be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was just exposed to a lot of kids who, had different things, and she managed to probably get all of it. So
yeah,
some of it is exposure.
Generally, kind of ordinary type stuff. Same, really, advice. A lot of fluids and.
You mean if you get an infection?
If you get sick, yeah, just kind of typical get sick. First thing you should do is maybe eat a big meal, not eat a big meal.
Yeah. So, if we're talking about some of these viruses, COVID, flu, RSV, these sorts of things, I think for most people, young, healthy, the biggest thing to do is to just kind of rest and let your body recover. I think we live in a society where we tend to run 100 miles per hour all the time. And we feel guilty calling into work when we're ill, and we just keep trying to push, and then we run ourselves down, and I think the illness tends to prolong or be a little bit worse that way. And so for most of us who are, not high-risk groups, I think just letting ourselves slow down, and get enough sleep and rest is probably the biggest tip, which is easier said than done oftentimes.
Yeah.
But then also just being aware that you are ill, that you are contagious, and there are people out there who don't have good immunity and who are
Right.
very at risk. And so if you're ill, really just, I guess, being kind and trying not to go out there and spread it to everybody.
Yeah.
And then if you're higher risk, meaning you're older or you're, for an infant, that sort of thing, but especially if you're older and have like any heart or lung issues, get tested because there are medications that can help. But for COVID and the flu, those medications really work best if you start them quickly.
Right.
And if you wait too long, they're not going to do anything.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think if COVID did anything for us, it kind of more aware how and, and washing your hands. And I think it really did kind of highlight those kind of
Yeah,
basic things that
yeah.
people forget about.
I think so too. It's interesting how often something like that, a radical change in the things that we experience, finally gets us to look at the way we've always been doing things,
Hmm.
and start to think like, is this really how we should do things, right? So like a good example of this is that my sister was pregnant during COVID and had a baby during COVID, and her actually twins, and they were premature
I was going to
as they
say
were
they're usually
twins.
early. Yeah.
And she was really getting upset because the nurses at the hospital that she was at in the NICU, the NICU, weren't wearing masks. And so she went up to like hospital admin, and within a couple of days all the nurses in the NICU were wearing masks. And to me, like, that kind of is common sense. Like, you're dealing with
Yeah. That's really
kind of
surprising
the
to me.
most at-risk population, but I think we get set in our ways and we think, this is how we've done things. There's no reason we need to change. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's good to go back and review and potentially think, okay, maybe there is something that could be done differently, can be done better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, really, the reason I wanted to have you come here is to talk about healthy weight and wellness, which is an aspect of your practice there with Baylor Scott and White
Right.
here at the
Yeah.
Bosque Clinic.
Right. Yeah.
And I found if I get a head cold, sometimes you're not available to
Yeah.
see me because you're so busy with this other aspect of your
Sure.
business, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm not, that's fine. There are lots of great
Hmm.
physicians there, but it is really kind of the overriding thing about the MAHA we're hearing about, from the administration, make America healthy again,
Hmm.
but that we tend to try to take care of diseases and illnesses after the fact, after you're already sick, as
Right.
opposed to preventing them. And
Right.
that's what, as you've already said, a healthy lifestyle, getting our bodies healthy. And
Hmm.
ways to do that, look at the foods we're eating
Hmm.
and look at our exercise. So
Right.
that's what I want to
Yeah.
pick your brain about a little bit.
Yeah, no, this is a really interesting topic to me. And I think part of the reason that I got into this in the first place is just, personal experience, personal, like, trying to figure out what works for me. I find, everything that I counsel patients on are things that I struggle with personally. I have a lot of patients who come in and they see me, and right now I'm in pretty decent shape. But not always. Like, in residency and in medical school, there were various times where my weight was starting to balloon up and I was going, to get fast food all the time and not having time to exercise. And it just happens so quickly and so easily. And then I stress sort of triggered
Hmm.
me to kind of turn to the wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
And so part of the reason I got into this was self-discovery and trying, self-improvement. And part of it was seeing, my patient struggle and seeing what a big need there was. But yeah, I think you're 100% right. Prevention is what they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure.
Hmm.
And the same is true with weight gain and all of the sequelae that come with it. The cardiovascular disease, the pulmonary disease, the sleep apnea, the
Diabetes, I mean,
diabetes. A lot of
yeah.
people don't know that obesity increases the risk, I think, of like 16 different cancers, including breast cancer, colon cancer, a number of other things. And so as part of the American healthcare system, it's really kind of a tragedy how this has been ignored,
Hmm.
and how historically doctors, for the most part, have said when people come in and saying, please help me lose weight, they're like, go out and eat less and exercise more and just work harder. And then year after year, that person comes back and continues to struggle and gain weight, and the same advice is given, which really hasn't proven effective at all.
Mm-mm.
And so we need to figure out how to do better. I'm open and honest all the time. Like, my program's imperfect. I'm doing the best I can. I try to focus on all of those lifestyle measures and connect people with people who can also help: dietitians, health coaches, personal trainers. But then on top of this, once you have developed the chronic disease of obesity, oftentimes we're finding that medication is needed, because it's really, really hard to lose weight and keep it off in America right now.
Yeah, let's talk about yo-yo dieting. And I tried, if I lose some weight, I'm like, I don't want to, and then I start seeing it creep back on. But really, yo-yo dieting is not good. Losing weight and then gaining it is
Right.
physically, it's hard on your heart. I mean,
Yeah, so it can affect your metabolism to some degree.
yeah,
Oftentimes, also, when we yo-yo diet, because historically, like, we're so obsessed over the number on the scale, we don't
yeah,
really, change our nutrition plan in positive ways. We just restrict. And so when we yo-yo diet, there's usually some amount of muscle loss that comes with the weight loss. And
hmm
then when we gain it back, it's usually not intentional weight regain, where we're trying to bulk up and build muscle. It's usually like, oh, I've fallen off the wagon. I'm eating everything. And so usually with that muscle loss with the weight loss, and then when you gain the weight back, you gain a greater proportion of fat back relative to the muscle that you lost.
hmm
And so slowly over time, you can kind of change your body composition in a way where it's got a higher body fat percentage. And body fat is less metabolically active than muscle. And so over time, your metabolism will suffer. And that makes progressive weight loss harder, progressive weight regain easier. It just really is a vicious cycle.
yeah, yeah. What I think there are a lot of myths that people kind of buy into when it
Yeah.
comes to weight loss and diet.
hmm
So let's kind of address some of those. What do you think is one of the biggest
I
myths?
think probably the biggest myth is that it's just all willpower. If we look back at, I think when you have the opinion that it's all willpower, first of all, you're very quick to judge others because you feel like,
Oh,
the
if you
people,
just were more disciplined,
yeah,
you could lose some
and
weight. Yeah.
exactly. And then you also judge them with their decision making process. When somebody goes and decides to try a medication, it's because they're not strong enough. Somebody decides to go and get weight loss surgery, it's because they're not trying hard enough. But then also, I've seen a lot of people be very, very, very hard on themselves because they feel like they should be able to do it themselves. And so I think that it just leads to like this really negative guilt, shame, emotion, which I also think when we're struggling, the worst possible thing when you're pursuing weight loss to feel is all of this self negativity,
hmm
because it's really self defeating. And when you feel guilty and ashamed about every bad decision that you make, typically you make worse decisions. I mean, I know when I'm depressed or unhappy or stressed, I turn to peanut butter, right? Like, or
Well, but
I
that's not
start
bad for you, is
snacking.
it?
Well, it depends on how much you turn to it, right?
Or if you're spreading it on a cookie, which
Yeah.
I kind of like.
So that's it. So it's not really,
Okay.
for me, it's maybe more quantity than there's some quality issues too. Um, but I think that the myth that it's all willpower is extremely damaging individually and systemically. And if you look back to like, if you try to put all of the population level data into like a story, you start to understand that the willpower storyline doesn't make any sense. So like looking back, it was really interesting. And some of these statistics I'm about to quote might not be perfectly, I might be, missing a number here and there. But in about the 1970-75 range, the American obesity rate was about 11%, and now it's over 40%. And so if you think back and think for thousands of years, people were relatively thin, and then all of a sudden, every single person lost willpower, like in the 1970s, it just doesn't make any
No,
sense.
you're right. You're right. It's what we're eating.
Well, it's what we're eating, and you also had mentioned activity, and that's a part of it too.
hmm
So most of weight loss and sustained weight loss is nutrition, but there is a decent amount that is activity as well. So like in the mid 1970s, the American food supply, we were able to make about 2,200 calories per American individual. in the food supply, and now we can make 2,900. So right there, you see,
Oh,
like, we've got an vastly increased food supply. And if we think about the way that that's being delivered to us, well, now it's easier to get than ever. It's not just like fast food's not fast enough. We have DoorDash, right? Like, and our entire society revolves around like get-togethers about food and that sort of thing. But on the activity side, I saw a statistic at one point where the average American in the 1960s walked 15,000 steps per day.
really?
And now we're like, get your 10,000. And honestly, 10,000 seems like a lot. 10,000 is really hard for me to get because I'm sitting at a desk most of the
Mm-hmm.
day. So I have to
Right.
be extremely intentional to hit it. But in the 1960s, it was natural. It was because people had to walk places, their jobs were active.
They had maybe one car.
And now we have all these
Right.
conveniences which have made life way more efficient. We have cars, we have phones, we have desk jobs, we have computers, we have video games, we have all these things. But the average American now walks 3 to 4,000 steps a day.
Hmm.
So our average activity level has gone down by 80%. So
That's huge.
if you put genetics that favor weight gain into an environment with substantially more calories available in easier ways to access with substantially decreased activity, like, it's really just common sense.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to start to struggle.
Well, I want to talk more about the activity part, exercise, and that. But first, we're going to take a quick break,
Yeah.
and then we'll be right back
Okay.
with Dr.
Sounds good.
John Myers. Thanks.
This is the Sonos Arc Ultra, and this is what you need to know about. It represents one of the easiest ways to get into high-quality home cinema without loads of cables and faffing around. And that's because the Arc Ultra provides full Dolby Atmos without any rear speakers thanks to its sound motion technology. And Sonos is actually calling sound motion one of the most significant breakthroughs in audio engineering in nearly 100 years. It's an amazing setup, it sounds absolutely fantastic, I love the absence of fat. If you're a Sonos person, there's a reason you're watching this video.
I am grateful to Dr. John Myers for sharing his knowledge and expertise with me.
Let's unbox the all-new Walking Pad X21. It is the hottest thing on the fitness market right now. Whew. I like it. I like it a lot. Well done, Walking Pad. So after using the Walking Pad, I absolutely loved it. For the price, I adore it. I highly recommend it.
And welcome back. I'm with Dr. John Myers, who is with Baylor Scott and White, and you are doing a kind of a very special program that you kind of got into. It's healthy weight and wellness. And tell me about this as an aspect of your practice where you're really helping people focus on ways to get healthier by losing weight and
Right.
increasing their activity.
Right. So my practice is a combination of trying to help people find sustainable ways to improve their lifestyle from nutrition and the activity standpoint. And then also we do offer the new and the older anti-obesity medications to supplement that, to make oftentimes the healthy lifestyle change feel more achievable and sustainable.
Well,
And-
if you start seeing results, that's going to motivate you even
Well, it's going to
more.
be very motivating, and then also we offer referrals to weight loss surgery as appropriate. So what we're trying to do is develop a gold standard comprehensive system to support people, to meet them where they are, and figure out how do we incorporate healthy living into the life they're already living. Because many of the things that historically we've told to people, they're just not applicable to the life that they're living. They're just not doable.
So what's the first thing that needs to change? I mean,
That's different for everybody.
yeah.
Everybody has their own cross to bear, their own thing that they're struggling with. We've got people who come in and it's an emotional issue, or it's a depression issue, or it's a medication they've been put on that causes weight gain, whether that's a corticosteroid
Oh, and that's
or
very right. That's true.
yeah, which is extremely frustrating for people
Yeah.
who are doing everything they know how to do, and they're gaining weight anyway.
Or even stabilizer type medications.
Mood
Those
stabilizers,
can cause you to gain
right?
weight. And-
Psychotropic mental health medications are
Yeah.
like a
need to
big
take,
one here,
Yeah.
and you can imagine if somebody's struggling with mental health already, and that makes taking care of yourself hard. Then you put them
Yeah.
on something that causes a lot of weight gain. It just becomes very, very hard to do. And so, and then there's people who come in and they have an extremely active job, which is more rare now, and the problem is nutrition. And there's people who come in and they're eating right, and they're just not moving.
They're just sitting all day.
Yeah, so you have to figure out kind of each person's individual story and then try to craft a personalized plan that fits into, what they need.
Well, we talked about some of the myths. I found a whole list of like 25 myths. I think this was from MD Anderson of all places, but I'll just pick one. It says fresh foods are more nutritious.
Yeah, that's not really a myth. Is that listed as a myth?
Well, it says frozen and canned fruits and vegetables are picked at the peak of ripeness. And,
okay, sure.
I mean, you can still...
Yeah.
Okay, you need to look a certain way to have an eating disorder to be sick enough and be sick enough.
Yeah, that's definitely not true. I mean,
Yeah.
binge eating disorder, bulimia, those people can have very normal body weights.
Right.
It can just be disguised.
Yeah. Calories in equals calories out.
So to maintain, that's a complicated one, and that's a one that gets, I think, conversed or debated a lot within kind of the realm that I'm in. I think in a vacuum, if you are eating the same amount of calories on a daily basis that you're burning, then you will stay the same weight. And if you're eating less on a daily basis than you're burning, then you will lose weight. And if you're eating more than you are burning on a daily basis, you will gain weight. But I do think there's a lot of nuance and things that complicate it. How do some people maybe digest and absorb more calories that they eat than somebody else who eats exactly the same thing? We know that there's disease processes like celiac disease and other things that would lead to malabsorption disorders, where people might eat the same amount of food and lose weight because they're just not taking those nutrients in. We already talked about medications that can affect these things, insulin resistance, like when you eat certain foods, do they get stored as fat or do they get used as energy so that you're not gaining weight? So there's a lot of nuance there. But at the same time, I do think it's really, really important. And I'm trying to continue to figure out ways to deliver this better. We need to, as individuals, have nutritional literacy and understand that there are choices that we can make in our diet that will be more likely to get us to where we want to be, and choices that will be less likely to do so.
Yeah, I already know the first thing is cut out sugar.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
No, I mean, I know if I do, it's a surefire way to lose some weight.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't know if it's just women. We just crave carbs.
Yeah, I don't think it's just women. I think it's everybody. Carbs are delicious.
Well, they're addictive. They truly are addictive, though. I mean, I found that if I say, okay, I'm going to really restrict sugar other than fruit. I'll eat fruit. But there's really a withdrawal. There's like 3 or 4 days and then when you get over, it's like, okay, I'm cool. I mean, I look at a candy bar,
Until you try another one.
Well, I know, right.
It's a gateway.
Just
That's
exactly
right, yeah.
like an addiction, I say. Let's talk a little bit more about exercise, though. What are some of the biggest myths about exercising?
I think a lot of people historically, first of all, I think people think that in order to lose weight, they have to kill themselves with exercise.
Long hours in the gym and all that.
Yeah, and really 90% of weight loss is what you're eating. There's a saying, you can't outrun your fork.
I like that.
And so if you are killing yourself with exercise, but your diet is really not where it needs to be, you can easily out eat whatever calories you burn every single day in the gym.
Yeah.
And so some people just it's almost like they're on a hamster wheel killing themselves and making no progress. And a lot of times it's on that dietary side when actually they could, maybe do a little bit less in the gym and, have a little bit more energy for the rest of their day every day and just focus more on their nutrition. And then they probably would make progress. So that's one. And then the other one, I think historically, which might be changing, is just like cardio. Just go run, do the elliptical. Cardio. Yeah, I don't like cardio either. And I think now people are starting to realize if 90% of weight loss is dietary, then cardio does have benefits. Cardio has cardiovascular benefits. It has stress relief benefits. It has benefits for mental health.
Yeah, it really does help your mental aspect.
Right. And from a weight loss perspective, there's some minimal benefit, but really what we need people to be doing is lifting weights or resistance bands. We want people to, as they lose weight through diet, maintain their muscle through weightlifting so that when they get down to a healthier weight, they're strong and fit and they have strong bones and they don't get osteoporosis and they can live a higher quality of life for a longer period of time. So that's one that I've seen quite often. And then the other thing to mention would be something called non-exercise activity, NEAT. Have you heard that term before?
No.
So pretty much that's just, how much do you move in a day, right? So like some people sit here and they just sit. Some people are natural fidgeters. They just fidget the whole time. And that burns calories, right?
Oh, really?
And then some people, because of their job, they move around a lot and they get 10,000, 15, 20,000 steps a day. And some people, they're in a desk job and they're walking one just move more in your daily life.
Yeah.
And for many of us, we do have to be very intentional about that because it's not baked into our life. But your non-exercise activity, how many steps you might take in a day, is actually a much bigger contributor to what we call your metabolism than really anything you could do in the gym.
Gosh, did not know that. That's cool. Stretching is, well, let's talk about that a little bit. I went to a business that specialized in stretching. Kind of hurt me, and I thought, I'm not gonna. I didn't care for it.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
But I can see, what the benefit might be for that. But I've always heard, oh, you stretch before you exercise. But then I was reading, oh no, you should stretch after,
Yeah.
not before. So what do you think about stretching and how much stretching we
Yeah,
should do?
you're right. That's kind of been a controversy. So I'm like you. I have read both things, like healthier to stretch before, healthier to stretch after. It gets really confusing. I don't think there's any really good data. I think, the studies that have been done, and I don't know that there are many, don't really show any increased injury burden for somebody who stretches after versus before. So this is purely anecdotal.
Oh, okay.
I feel better when I stretch. Like when I stretch before I run, and I don't love to run, but when I stretch before I run, my joints hurt a little bit less as I'm running. I just feel better. And so I typically try to stretch before I do something like that. But that's just purely how I feel. I don't think there's any hard data to back any of that up.
What about heat and cold therapies?
Yeah.
People that get into these cold chambers and
Yeah. I mean,
or
there's
do like hot tubs or
certainly
whatever.
a lot of professional athletes who do those things. And so you would think that the people treating them know what they're doing. But there's a lot of medicine, I think in 2025 and in the years leading up to 2025, what most of the medical community has tried to do is adapt and change more to like evidence-based medicine. So like we've got randomized controlled studies for should I use this medicine? Should I not use this medicine? What's the potential risk of this medicine versus not? And we still don't know everything. And I think as, people experiment and try new things, we'll have more studies with those things. But for things like cold plunges and all of that, to my knowledge, there's not really any excellent trials proving or disproving benefit. So it's out there kind of on the avant-garde, like it hasn't been completely delineated. And that's still stuff where we're waiting for more data, I think. But, I don't think there's been any harm shown either. And if it's something somebody believes in and it feels like it's helpful and they feel like it's making them recover quicker and it feels like they are getting less injured, I think there could be some value there. The one thing that I always caution people on with anything, whether it's really cold plunges, I'm not worried about, but like IV therapy, for vitamin infusions or energy infusions.
Oh yeah, I've seen places in big cities where people are hooked up to in a storefront, and I'm like, what in the world? And they're getting vitamins or something.
Or anything you order off the internet, or even supplements you get from the supermarket, but there's just not a lot of data behind any of it. So like one of my main concerns, there is, depending on where you go for certain things, there might be some risk there. But also there's a risk to like your pocketbook.
Oh gosh.
And a lot of these places that don't really practice evidence-based medicine, they're charging cash, and they're charging a lot of cash. And a lot of times people are paying for things, and they're paying a lot of money for things that just might not work that well. And that's really kind of a tragedy to me. I think you've never been in my weight loss program. But when people come in, one of the first questions I ask is what their budget is, because I don't want to help them with their physical health just to ruin them financially. Medical bills is one of the major bankruptcy causes. I think it might be the highest one in America right now.
Yeah.
And I think we have to figure out as a country, how do we, not just help people live healthier, longer lives, but how do we help them do so in a way where they can actually enjoy those lives because they still have some money left,
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Specific exercises, I found this, talking about myths. The longer you exercise, the better. We've kind of talked about that. Strength versus aerobic. I like the strength part.
Yeah.
You can target your fat burn.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's a myth.
Nope. Weight training bulks up women.
Yeah. So it doesn't. You'd have to be working out incredibly hard and probably be on.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a weightlifter's you see this in their face. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'd have to lift a lot of weights.
Yeah, it would take a whole lot of weightlifting. It would take you purposely intending to bulk up.
Yeah.
From a nutrition aspect, from an actual in the gym aspect, and probably from a supplement, and maybe from an anabolic steroid aspect.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Maybe. I mean, there's some women who can bulk up without that, but you would have to be intentionally trying to bulk up. For the most part, what weightlifting does for women is that as they're working on their diet and losing weight, weightlifting allows them to maintain the muscle that will make them look toned when they lose weight, which is what most people want anyway.
Mm-hmm. That and what it has to do with your bones
Well,
as women
absolutely.
age.
Yeah.
This is, for me, at my point in life, I do the weight training to try to keep from breaking anytime you look at me.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's very important. I agree.
Yeah. Another was crunches that I saw, which my trainer doesn't have us do a lot of crunches. But what I was reading was really they aren't that beneficial, that you should do something that more targets the whole area as opposed to the old-fashioned sit-ups.
Right.
I'd never heard that before.
Well, remember,
But
so
apparently Kyle had.
yeah, and so I'm not an exercise specialist. I know a lot about exercise, but that's my understanding as well, that there's better exercises for your abs.
Yeah.
And once again, for those who might have any hope of getting abs in the future, which is not necessarily me, people who are genetically blessed in that way, once again, mostly that's diet. The ab exercises will help you have the muscle so that when the diet gets you close enough to see the muscle, you'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And as you say, the old adage that I've always heard is that you lose weight in the kitchen, you get fit in the gym.
Right.
And so you have to go from that standpoint. And so just your overall thoughts about, a good diet. We hear about all the different kinds, Mediterranean and DASH and all these different diets. Is it specific to people, or is there an overall, this is a really good way that if everybody ate this way, they'd be better off?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's kind of broad strokes, and then there's individual nuance. And so, we had mentioned somebody with celiac disease, or, somebody with another specific dietary requirement. So there will always be certain people who need to eat a little bit differently for whatever reason, whatever biologic reason. But for the most part, if we were able to do it consistently, then a diet that's full of healthy whole foods, fruits, vegetables, lean meats, lean dairy products, all that sort of thing would probably be the most healthy. There is a lot of data behind the Mediterranean diet for the specifics of heart disease, and so that's what most cardiologists recommend.
Yeah.
And so that's another really good one.
Which is
olive
fish
oil and olive oil
fish,
and
right.
a glass of wine, I guess, every day, although that's probably not what really makes the diet work.
It makes somebody more apt to want to go on the diet, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Might help adherence some.
Yeah, but, I think of Mediterranean, I think about a lot of pasta, but, maybe not so much.
Yeah,
pasta.
less that, more the other things.
Yeah.
But for most of us, if we just ate healthy, whole foods, whole grains, all of these things, 90+% of the time, we would end up in a really good place. You had mentioned earlier how sugar is addictive, though.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a major problem. There was a study at one point, and I'd have to look back to make sure I'm quoting it right, but where they got a bunch of rodents addicted to cocaine, and then they put a sugar feeder into their cage, and most of the rodents started to use the sugar more than the cocaine. Like, sugar's really addictive. And I find that in my own personal life too. Like, I'll do well for a while, but inevitably something sneaks back in. And when we talk about sugar, like, what we're really talking about is simple carbohydrates. So a lot of people, when we talk about sugar, they're thinking, okay, that means candy canes or ice cream, but really it also means Cheez-Its and chips. Those are also simple carbs that get broken down immediately. And that's really more my problem, right? Is
the snacky foods.
It's the snacky foods that also have salt in them that when I know myself, and if I start, it's really hard to stop. It's really hard to stop.
Yeah. It's the whole bag.
Right.
No, no, I know. Well, this is all, it's great advice. It's great things to be thinking about. When you go to the store, I've always heard you just kind of stay around the outside edge. Don't go with those inside aisles.
Right. Yeah. And for me, now that we've got, the ability to do curbside or food delivery, there's some drawbacks to that. Sometimes you don't get the freshest produce.
Depending on somebody else.
You're not choosing
pick your oranges.
But there's some value in being able to order things and not go into the store in the first place,
and then
make impulse buys.
Yeah.
Because that's very easy to do. And so for me personally, I've got, like, on Walmart or HEB, I've got my staple lists, where every week when I'm ordering, I go through that first, and I can very easily choose things that I know that I like, that I've used before, that are healthy. And then I can kind of supplement extra things around that. But it takes the temptation out of it to some degree. And it also takes a lot of time out of it, because going to a grocery store around here, with how busy they are, can be very time consuming.
Well, and I see 15 people I know. And so then there's a conversation in the aisle, and other people getting mad because you're just clogging up the aisle with a very important conversation.
That's right.
But for some people, it's kind of a social, it's my social outlet.
That's right.
Too.
Yeah.
That's where I do go out and see.
It's a chance to get out.
See people. This is all really, really good stuff. And I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I like to end these little conversations with a sort of a questionnaire similar to the one the late great James Lipton used on Inside the Actor's Studio. I don't remember if I asked you this when we did our Zoom interview 1,000 years ago.
I don't remember either. That was a long time ago.
I don't remember, so here we go. What is your favorite word?
Oh man, what's my favorite word? That's really hard. I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is just family.
Yeah.
Or inspiration, because that's what really drives me for the most part.
They're both good. They're both good. Least favorite word?
Oh, I know that I've got, deserve. I don't like the word deserve.
Oh, okay.
I just feel like, none of us really deserves anything. We all just, to some degree, just have to work as hard as we can. And to another degree, none of us is really in control of our future, our lives. Like, there's a lot of things out of our hands. And so we just need to be grateful and feel blessed when things go our way, and know that sometimes that they won't. But I think when we start feeling like we deserve something, or people are obligated to give us something, I think that it's just kind of a path that leads to negativity.
Yeah. You've kind of already answered my next question, but what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I just really, within, like, my clinic as an example, I just really like being a builder, building a program, problem solving, being able to be, I'm not the most artistic person. I'm actually a pretty terrible artist. I'm not a musician, but I think within what I do, I have the ability to be creative and try to build something that really helps people. And then when people come in and they're thriving, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I really enjoy seeing people thrive. And then when people come in and they're not, then I kind of take it to heart, and I'm trying to figure out what can we do differently.
Yeah.
But, the ability to have a positive impact on other people's lives when most of our lives are just so hard is pretty rewarding.
Yeah. What then conversely turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Yeah. whenever I feel like and I haven't really felt like this for a long time, but whenever I feel like there's a roadblock that just, for some reason, I just can't surmount, then I start looking for, is there a way, do I need to change something? Do I need to go in a different direction? Because I guess stagnation really drives me crazy. And so before I was a doctor, I was an accountant for 3 years.
Interesting.
With the Department of Defense, and it was a good career, and I had like really good work hours and a good salary, but there was really no room for creativity. It was just you kind of follow all these accounting laws, and at least within that one career, like it would have been really, really easy to just stay there and not change anything because life wasn't hard, but it was also not very rewarding.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes when I feel shackled, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite sound?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. What about a least favorite sound?
Oh man, some of the sounds my kids make in the car. Probably just when my kids are arguing with each other.
Okay. You've touched on a previous work life. Was there a job or something that you always wanted to try?
I think this. Like
Okay, so
I mean,
you
maybe not always, but since the time that I was really in college and did some soul searching, I wanted to do something like this where I could really help people with something that mattered, like their health. And what my career has turned into is maybe not what I envisioned initially, but it really gives me a lot of passion and purpose. And older, I think I'll cut back, but I could see myself doing this in some form or fashion, hopefully for most of my life.
Yeah, long as you're able.
Right.
That's great. Is there a job though, or a career that no, I don't want to do that. Somebody else do that.
I mean, all sorts of things probably. Accounting.
I was gonna say. been
Definitely,
there and done
definitely
that.
accounting.
Yeah, I had a doctor once tell me, lawyer once say doctor.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
many have said anything in the medical career because there's blood and stuff like that
Yeah.
involved, and
Mhm.
not everyone's called.
Not
to that.
everybody's
But we're always grateful
made
for those
it,
who
right?
are
Yeah.
called to. So one last question is: when you arrive at the pearly gates, what do you want to hear God say to you?
I guess well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
Mainly that, I'm imperfect. Like I said, we're all human, but I hope that I can continue just like teaching my kids to be wonderful stewards of what we're given and being a good husband. And, at least hopefully when I get to heaven, if I get there, then God will understand that I did the best I could. And I tried to trust him as much as I could with decisions I made.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. So, how can folks learn more about the Healthy Weight and Wellness program through Baylor Scott and White?
So
Just call you, or-
now, probably the easiest way is just to call the Baylor Scott and White Hillcrest Bosky Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
There is, like I said, a drive for this to become hopefully more of a system-wide initiative, probably starting with employer agreements. But I'm hoping that as that opens up, that will open up the door for more and more patients to enjoy that as well. And so the Healthy Weight program product is going to combine health coaches and me and medicines for those interested, and the MyBSW Health app to include like all sorts of resources like nutritional guidance and support and reaffirmations and just all of these other things that hopefully will give people just a really good community to rely on as they try to make change. Kind of like we talked about before, the Facebook group that I have is intended to do, is to bring people together who are pursuing bettering their health, bettering their lives, who sometimes can feel isolated in a society that's really pushing the other way.
Yeah.
And so the more we can connect with people who are uplifting each other, I think the better we're all going to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And great information on that Facebook page. I'm
Yeah.
glad of it. Thank you. You are a fount of great information. I
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Myers.
Thanks for having me.
being with us. And stay with us. We've got more show ahead.
Hi, my name's Erica, and today I'm going to be taking you through my skincare routine using the Tasmanian Spring Water range from Sand and Sky. This range is really good for dry and dehydrated skin like myself. It's packed with 2 types of hyaluronic acid and fermented sea kelp to reduce redness and irritation, which I experience daily. So that's it. It's so quick and so easy, and my skin feels so dewy and so hydrated.
Be sure to like and subscribe to The Ann Harder Show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Stick around. Elizabeth Riley is up next with Act Locally News.
I just got my Colgate Advanced LED Whitening Treatment in the mail, and I am very excited to have dramatically whiter teeth in just 10 days. My teeth are going to be 6 shades whiter. The treatment is enamel safe and hassle-free. It's even designed for my sensitive teeth. Let's open it up. Inside we have the blue light whitening device. It's a charger for after each treatment as well. There's a full 10-day supply, and it looks easy to apply. Order yours today at shop.colgate.com.
There's lots happening for our athletic Wacoans. First up, join the Waco Run for Hunger on Saturday, September 6th at Waco ISD Stadium. From a fun run to a 5K, this family-friendly event is the perfect way to raise awareness and help fight food insecurity in Waco. If that's not your speed, try the Beast of the Brazos, which is an open water swim happening the same day, Saturday, September 6th. This open water swim between the banks of the Brazos will feature a route similar to a full Ironman with a 1.2 and 2.4 mile option. Not to mention, Waco will be host to Stage 3 of the 2026 Bass Pro Tour in March of 2026. The tournament will be hosted on both Lake Whitney and Lake Waco by the Greater Waco Sports Commission, the City of Waco, and the Waco Tourism Public Improvement District.
And we are back. Thank you so much. My wonderful friend Coleman Hampton, who is executive director of the Bell County Museum, is here with us to tell us about a special art exhibit that you got going on at the Bell County Museum.
Yes, so we have A Sense of Place, the works of artist Billy Hassel. It opened in mid-July and will be open until September 13th. It is a wonderful exhibit, scenes of nature, plants and animals from across the state. The images or the paintings, it's a collection of 22 paintings and lithographs, and they are just vivid, very colorful, and they celebrate nature and conservation in Texas, which is, I think something that all of us in Texas are very proud of, our natural landscapes.
Yeah, kind of perfect for the Bell County Museum. Billy Hassel, though, he's kind of a big deal.
He is, yeah. We're very fortunate to get in touch with him, and it's a
And
wonderful.
how did you?
So this is an interesting story. One of our board members, Margaret Williamson from Salado, she's been involved with the museum for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
She brought the idea of a Billy Hassel exhibit to myself and to me and to our board. And I reached around to some people in the art community and asked, do you think this would be a possibility? And a lot of them said, he's probably too big. I don't know if he'll do it.
Yeah, he's very well known.
Well, Margaret, our board member, just called him, and
She happens to know him.
well, no, she actually didn't
She
know
did,
him. She
yeah?
just called the number on his website, and they talked for 2 or 3 hours,
Yeah.
and it's been about a year in the making. So we got in touch with him, and Billy is just a very kind, great person to work with. So we, over time, kind of developed an exhibit of his artworks that are specific scenes in Texas. And he very graciously, he had a show in Rockport before our show, and we got the paintings to Bell County and put the exhibit together. So
And this will be up through September 13th. So
Yes.
you got about a month to
Right.
to get over to Belton and see this. Of course, I love that museum. You know how much I love the fact that it was a Carnegie
yes.
library.
Well, and
originally.
the Carnegie Library is just kind of a centerpiece of our museum,
Mhm.
and fortunately, we were able to expand in 2006. So for county museums, I think it's a very, very special place in the state, and to have an art exhibit like this, I think is something new for our visitors, something new for Bell County. And the pieces are really amazing. I'm not an art aficionado. I do love and appreciate it, but some of these pieces are 4 by 6 feet large, so they're really large. The color, the imagery is just fantastic, and we've had a really good response. So, admission to the museum is free, and we're trying to get the word out to let people know it's a relatively short run for exhibits at our museum. Typically, our temporary exhibits are 3 to 4 months, sometimes 6 months, but this one is a relatively shorter one. So we're hoping that everyone takes the opportunity to come out and see it.
Any of these pieces for sale? Is he wanting to sell?
The pieces, if anyone that visits the museum is interested, they can contact them. We're not, the purpose of the exhibit is
It's
not to sell them.
right?
Right.
But often artists like to sell them.
Yes, I
and,
think.
and collectors who, like I say, someone as well known as Billy Hassel is to want to say, I've got a piece of his.
Absolutely, yes. If someone, if they visit the museum, we have some signage. If someone's interested in one of the pieces, we have some information on that at our front desk, and they can get in touch with Billy and talk about acquiring one of the pieces. But the purpose of the show, and he's always been on board with this, and we have two, is that it's to of course, show his art and also raise awareness about the beauty of our state all the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, the Bell County Museum, it's really just a repository of Bell County history, archaeology, culture. Of course, you've got interactive displays. You've got the whole thing on the Galt site, which I always have to mention that because that just blew my mind. I didn't even know anything about it till I came to the Bell County Museum.
Well, we have a tour this weekend. I don't know if it's short notice, but we have tours pretty much twice a month to the Galt site.
Well, and you have to go through the Bell County Museum or the Williamson County Museum to do that. Because it's not just open to the public, but it is so fascinating, and there's been a movie made about it that is wonderful.
And people are just interested. I think there's so much in Bell County, Scott and White Hospital, Fort Hood, Salado. The fact that we have three: the Leon, the Lampasas, and Salado rivers, all Salado Creek merging into Little River. It is a really unique place, and we've got, as in Waco, the Balcones Fault Line going right down the middle of Bell County. So it's a really interesting place. Central Texas is home for me, and I know for people who have been here for a long time and those who have just moved here, I think we have a lot of great cultural opportunities to go out and see nice things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course, you also bring in some great lectures
Yes.
to the Bell County Museum. Those always fill out your whole space. I mean,
Yes, I think the last time I was here was with Brian Burrow.
Brian Burrow, the
he had written The
Gunfighters, yeah.
Gunfighters. Last year we had Hope Cook, who talked to us
Yeah.
about artificial intelligence, and then an author who had written a book about the runaway scrape. So
yeah.
as soon as we have that slate for the 2026 spring lecture series, you'll be the first one.
Okay, you got to be
I'll let you
back
know.
here to let me know about that. And of course they're wonderful because many of them you also live stream. So I've
Yes.
watched them as well
Yeah.
when I wasn't able to get down to Belton to see it in person.
Yeah, that's been with technology, as
That's
you know.
awesome.
Yeah, the ability that for people who aren't able to come or might live at a distance, the ability to stream those or live streams so that people can watch them is really fantastic.
Yeah. But you definitely want to go in person
Yes.
to look at that art and nod
And kind of
what is that what you
contemplate
do?
what it
That's
means.
what you do. Because I know I said you could fit in a thimble what I really understand about art. I really don't, but I know what I like, and I've certainly liked what I've seen already of Billy Hassel's work because, as you say, it is vibrant. It really does kind of bring alive Texas.
Yes, and if you've been in Texas, there are paintings, plants, animals, marine life, all the way from the Gulf Coast, the Hill Country, West Texas. There's a beautiful painting of Paladero Canyon.
Oh yeah, what a
So
beautiful
you
place.
can really see and appreciate the different flora and fauna from across the state. And again, these I'm not sure I've ever seen a collection that is this bright. I think he has a really unique style, and yeah, it's just been wonderful to have.
Now, so your exhibit space is that in the back part, the kind of the new part?
It's in the new addition,
Okay.
in what we call the West Gallery. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a space that actually used to be the Guffey Building, which was a gas station and a car dealership. It's a very old building. So in 2006, the Bell County Museum expanded from being just in our 1905 Carnegie Library. They expanded and added, kind of created a central walkway, and built out the old Guffey Building into part of the museum. So that our West Gallery, which also leads into the Marshall Log Cabin, that's accessible to visitors.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this exhibit is located. So
Mm-hmm.
if you come in the front door, our friendly staff will point you in that direction.
Yeah. Was Billy able to be on site for any kind of gathering or anything?
Yes, yes. So we did have a members
Okay.
reception in I can't remember the exact date, but in July.
I was
So
going to
he
say if it
came
started
and
in July, yeah.
he came and did a wonderful talk.
Oh,
And he's been painting for 40 years. He's always had a love for natural places and conservation of nature. So I think originally he wanted to be a biologist, and then I think his natural talent was painting. And it was really interesting to hear him talk about the wonderful opportunities that he has to go to these beautiful
yeah.
places. In his process is that he will go to whether it's Paladuro Canyon or the Gulf Coast, he'll go to a site and sketch with pencil or watercolor. He'll kind of sketch the scene and then go back to his studio and create, from
Oh,
that, create the painting. So
that as opposed to, does he take a photograph? Does he work from a photograph maybe or not?
I think, and again, I'm basing this on my memory,
Oh, what
which
he said,
is
yeah.
slowly getting worse as I grow
That's
older.
okay.
But no, I believe he goes to the actual site, kind of they would call plein air, I think, and kind of sketches out the
Yeah.
scene and then adds different elements in the studio. But I don't want to elaborate too much on his artistic process,
Yeah.
because again,
Well,
I'm
I
not an
find it
artist.
fascinating though because I can't draw a stick figure, so I'm honestly when I learn from artists about how they go about creating their works, it's just fascinating to me.
It's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
It is
Well, it's
amazing.
exciting. The Billy Hassel art
Yes.
exhibit there at the Bell County Museum, right there on Main Street. It's very easy to find.
Yes, you
And
can't
your
miss
hours
it.
of operation, you're not open on Mondays, right?
Right. So we're open Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5, and then Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, so make it a point to
Yes.
go and see this exhibit. Thank you so much, Coleman.
Thank
It's
you,
always
Ann.
good to
It's
have you.
always a pleasure.
Come back anytime.
Of course I will. Look forward to it.
All right, good. Thank you. All right, you stay with us. We've got more of the show ahead.
Natural Cycles identifies your fertile window by analyzing changes in your temperature. It's the first FDA-cleared birth control app. No hormones, no side effects. And 93% effective with typical use, and 98% effective with perfect use. Just measure in the morning, add your temperature into the app, then learn which days you can and cannot get pregnant. It's that easy. Learn more at naturalcycles.com.
Thanks for joining us. Join me tomorrow when my guest will be author Theo Boyd about her book, My Grief Is Not Like Yours. And we'll also hear from members of the cast of To Kill a Mockingbird. That's the Waco Civic Theater's upcoming show. Have a great day.